Oh, to be in love. I know, go ahead and laugh, but it just amazes me how often I walk into a company and sure enough, I hear of, oh, well, they're a thing, or, oh, there's the new couple, or, oh, he wants to work in that area because that'll get him closer to her, or they do everything together. If one goes on lunch, the other has to go on lunch. If one goes on break, the other has to go on break. And I think it's wonderful that people can develop close relationships. But the dilemma is that in human resources, we should be cringing when we see inner office or company relationships. Because I'll tell you, folks, not all of them end up well. You're listening to The Human Resource, and my name is Pandy. I kind of wanted to touch this topic because I had a call this week from a company, I guess it was last week, from a company that said, oh, we got a situation, and we just want to make sure we're doing this correctly. We have a very small room where the copier is. One of our young ladies was standing there working, and a gentleman walked past her, and she believes that he brushed his hand too close on her body, and she wants to file a harassment suit. I said, oh, okay, all right, well, how much information do we have on this particular situation? And the GM said, well, I know the guy. It's hard for me to believe that he would do something like that, but at the same time, she's young. She truly believes that she's been harassed. She doesn't want anything to do with this guy. She wants him out of the area. And I said, okay, well, let's slow down. Let's get all the details first, because there's got to be more to it. So in talking to the gentleman, he got very offended. How dare this be, said about me? I don't want anything to do with her. This has gotten all out of hand. And he walks away, storms off. So the GM calls me back and says, well, I don't know that went so well. And I said, oh, no, that actually went really, really well. Let's go back. We go back and ask him, once he's cooled down, once the emotion has gone away, let's go back. How can we help him work through this? How does he believe he got to this point? And how often does he see this person? And ultimately, it came down to, he provided us with text messages of when the two of them were having this relationship. And the relationship ended by the gentleman's choice, and obviously the female became disgruntled. So what does she do? She lashes out by claiming a harassment. I cannot tell you how many times this happens. And what's really odd is we stand there as employers. We stand and we watch this relationship blossom, and we want to be happy for them, and we see how this looks from from their perspective of how all the smiles and giggles and all this stuff. But when it goes sour, guys, it's a bolter hitting the ground at an earth-shattering pace. And it's difficult to describe how much energy it sucks out of your workforce, because the workforce themselves finds themselves divided. They find themselves sympathizing with one, not the other, or they start talking, and the drama absolutely skyrockets in the workplace. What's even worse is when an employee feels like they have to leave to get away from the old partner, and you're losing a really good employee. I know this seems really far-fetched, but this happens so often that I wanted to talk about what can we do as employers to prevent, I don't want to say prevent, but maybe even circumvent these kind of situations. And not easy solutions. So actually, there might even be a little difficult for some of you, because if you've got a small organization, or worse yet, if you've got an organization with very young people, this is going to hit you. So let's control what we can and talk about what exactly you might be thinking of doing. First off, yes, you can put a policy in place. You can slide it in your handbook. You can announce it to the world. You can put it on the bulletin board. You can do whatever you want. But you can have a policy that states no interoffice or internal company relationships. If two individuals feel that they are completely compelled and magnetically attracted to each other and they can't prevent themselves, then with a policy, you could ask one of them to either leave the company or work an entirely different shift, if that's possible. You definitely don't want those two people reporting to each other or one reporting to the other. That absolutely should be a must if you're going to have a policy that permits relationships. You definitely do not want them reporting to each other. But even just stating that if they're going to do this, they have to have any relationship, they have to be completely out of sight. I mean, the company doesn't want to know about it. We don't want to see anything evident of the affair at work. We don't want to see anything work-related on social media with the two of them at a social event. This is something you can control to make pass the message that we can't risk having this go south and then all the drama coming into the company. You can, and it has happened, where there is an internal relationship and the individual has to leave the company by you terminating them. It's an involuntary termination because the rules are you don't have a relationship. We cannot have you marrying each other. We cannot have you starting a family together and both working here. Those of you who can't put these kind of policies in place, the only things I can recommend for you guys is make absolutely sure, again, that one is not reporting to the other. And I would keep them at opposite ends of the building if you possibly can. When they're there to work, they're there to work. They are not there to have close relations or lovey-dovey or joking or just being close. They are to be focused on work. And none of the employees need to know that they're together. I also have to caution you on family members. Family members are very similar in these situations. When you've got a parent and a child working at the same establishment, you got to be really careful that you're not going to the parent because of the child's problems or talking to the child about the parent's problems. And if you have a performance issue, you're addressing the correct employee and not making it a family affair. You have to remember that if the employee comes and asks you questions about the other employee, whether it's their parent or their child, it's none of their business. If the second employee, the child, is not a minor, is an adult, then privacy kicks in. Unfortunately, as much as we want people to all get along, internal relationships can be very, very damaging. And so in this case, where I had a gentleman who brought us text messages and said, look, she's extremely disgruntled. Look at all these text messages. She's trying to get back with me. She won't leave me alone. On the text messages, she's enamored with me. And at work, she's trying to get me terminated for harassment. And when we took these text messages to her and showed her, hey, the story has kind of exploded here and we have much more information, boy, she shut down real quick. She had to. She had to. She tried to set him up. And not that she ever apologized to him. And of course, we couldn't necessarily apologize to him because we had to do the investigation. We had to dig deeper for more information so that we could make sure that we were making the correct determination. We could assure that we had looked at every aspect before we claimed or accused him of harassment. And vice versa, if anything, she was in the wrong and was reprimanded because she was lying about what he was doing and for very vindictive reasons. So those kind of situations aren't anything that I recommend any of you getting involved in. But what I will say is that harassment is real. Harassment is, I almost want to say it's inevitable at some point in your career. You're going to, if you're in HR, you're going to have to face this stuff. But the bottom line is if you can put policies in place that will prevent these things from happening, like the internal relationships or the internal pressures that come with situations that don't quite work out, you're at least being proactive. And when these things happen, you'll be a little bit more in control. And isn't that something we all want? It's just a little more control of how we spend our day. Well, I hope so, because that's what we're trying to help you with. And that's what we're here for at the Human Resource. Thank you for listening.